All right, Sean, let's get into the biggest story to me in the NFL right now. And I'm not being hyperbolic at all. I'm being dead serious. And that is Jordan Love holding in with the Green Bay Packers. Now, the general manager of the Packers, Brian Gutekunst, held a press conference and said Love's agents and representatives told him he will not practice or take the field until the new deal is done. Now, those folks hopping on X or Twitter or are in Green Bay, they're going to see images of Jordan Love without any pads on, walking onto a practice field, all smiles with Matt LaFleur, which I think is a great thing to see because he's in the building, he's in meetings, but rightfully so, this guy is saying, I'm not going to take another snap in practice until you pay me. Right now, he's on the last year of an extension he signed last season, which gave them some wiggle room to work with. But he's in line to get paid. What do you make of Jordan Love holding in with the Packers right now?
Yeah, I think you kind of just touched on it, rightfully so. I mean, I without a doubt agree with the decision. I mean, he was drafted into the situation that he was, and the team had all the leverage. And he played 10 games his first 2 years. He went through the constant up and downs that it is when you're Aaron Rodgers' teammate. And, now he actually has the leverage himself, and good for him. He should use it. He deserves it. He, pretty much thrown into the mix last year, very young team. Expectations certainly were not playoff bound expectations. And he did just that, 9-8 as a starter, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, the playoff win in Dallas that you thankfully mentioned earlier. He, like I said, he has all the leverage now, and he made the most of it last year. So good for him.
Yeah. Last 10 games of the season, 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, goes into Dallas, lights that defense up, especially him and Romeo Doubs. 272 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm not being mean at this point. Like, let me say this right now.
The truth hurts.
I am unapologetically a massive Jordan Love fan. Yes, I worked in Green Bay, in Madison, Wisconsin. And the night he was drafted, I was beside myself. I almost collapsed on the floor. He still had Aaron Rodgers playing at an MVP level who needed receivers, and they took him. And I was like, what the heck? And he waited. He waited to start. And then he came in and he struggled the first 7-8 games of the season. But then from the halfway point of the season on, he put together a sample size, in my opinion, is big enough not to justify getting this contract, but to justify going to the front office of the Packers and going, look at what I did. Look how good I am. I know the system. Matt LaFleur is not going anywhere. I'm his guy at quarterback. We have all these young receivers in the room. It's a quarterback league. Pay me now. He did it perfect, and good on him. If he proves to be a fluke and completely collapses from this point on, this is business in the NFL of having a quarterback because the Packers will pay him because they have to, and they would rather have somebody than nobody. Because go across the league and you can see the purgatory that many teams are in or the trouble they face if they have a nobody. But I watch the game. I see what he does, how he executes, how he impacts a game, and I think he'll be worth it. What gets me is the payday we're going to see him get. Because think of the Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence. All recently young quarterbacks have signed a 5-year extension. This guy is going to ink a 5-year, $280 million contract because that gives him $56 million a year, which is better than Joe Burrow, better than Trevor Lawrence, better than Jared Goff. He's going to reset the market. And now we'll go, all right, what would the guaranteed money be? I mean, he could go $225 guaranteed million, and that beats Joe Burrow again. The big thing in all this, Sean, is that if you're the Packers, you actually want to get this deal done, which they said they'll get it in the coming days, because you want to get it done before your boy Dak gets paid. Same thing. Cowboys have to pay Dak. You can say what you want about him, his performance in the playoffs, how he is as a long-term starter. But when he gets paid, as is Jordan Love, they're going to reset the market once again. It's not who's the highest paid. You want to be the most recent paid. And if they give him a 5-year, $280 million extension, that would take him into his age 31 season. And by then, which would be 6 years from now, he plays the last year of his $12 million extension this season, then gets at $56 million a year moving forward. He's going to look like a bargain in 2 to 3 years because you give him this contract. And like I'm doing, I am projecting how good Jordan Love will be. That's how these contracts work. Everyone that hated what Trevor Lawrence got paid, same thing. The Jaguars are projecting what he would get paid. So that's my big deposition on Jordan Love and why he should get paid, because I do say it, Sean, as much as I said, could be a fluke, I think he's a real deal, man.
Yeah, no, and you say 5 for 280. I saw something. I can't remember who had it, but I saw it was a projection for like 5 for 250, which right in line with pretty much all the guys you mentioned. Right in line with Jalen Hurts as well. So I could see it being like that. And then, I mean, geez, he's 30 years old and he gets another massive extension right after that. At the tail end of his prime, but maybe throughout his prime, really.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would definitely agree. I would say that it's a little, I like how you kind of phrased it. It is a little early. We only saw it for 1 year, but that's nothing against him. He's doing exactly what he should be. And like you said, quarterback purgatory is the worst position you can be in sports. So right now you have a legit quarterback. He looks like, a top 10 guy for, maybe the rest of his career for a long time. So you got to pay him.
I love that you said he looks like a top 10 guy, maybe the rest of his career. I agree. And I think the important part and what the Packers are going to look at is, are there key guys on the outside, like a Luke Musgrave starting with the tight ends, right? But then again, to the Romeo Dubs, the Jaden Reeds, the Christian Watsons, if he can stay healthy, all these players, Dontavian Wicks, those are rookies under team control. And they will be under team control for the next 3 to 4 years, depending on where they're drafted and depending on what year they came into the league. But this is when you pay your quarterback. They just extended Kenny Clark. They just gave Rashawn Gary a payday. They've seen other key defensive players walk, and they've let them walk. But now is the time to pay a quarterback. Yes, he didn't start, and they didn't get as much out of him on a rookie scale contract as they wanted, but Aaron Rodgers showed them he could keep playing. Mm-hmm. And he overstayed his welcome in Green Bay. I won't disagree with that. But the kid stepped in, and again, you said it. Well, he showed us. He didn't even show us for an entire season. But what he displayed for the second half of the season, and again, into a playoff game where he 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, and picked apart a playoff caliber defense. Say what you want of their health, picked apart a playoff caliber defense again on the road. This is the type of stuff that gets these guys paid. And it could go one of two ways, right? Where the Packers could pay him, and they could also look like Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, but I don't believe so because he has that type of ability as a passer. And that's how I think it's going to go, where it's going to be an investment like we've seen with teams. The Bengals made with Joe Burrow. They just need to keep him healthy. They need to get an offensive line. But you have everything in place. Pay the quarterback because Jordan Love won't go anywhere, and Matt LaFleur is not going anywhere with this system because he is your head coach. And last I checked, and it's the best thing to be in favor for him and Brian Gutekunst, their timeline is tied to Jordan Love. And for as long as he's there, we'll see. And he keeps progressing and the team takes steps forwards, going from 1 playoff win to 2 to being contenders in the NFC as a whole. LaFleur, Gutekunst, and Jordan Love aren't going anywhere. So they have a long-term deal. And that's, again, why he comes out. And we've seen reports come out saying that a deal should get done in the coming days. And I don't know. How would you feel about it? Let's say Jordan Love gets $56 million a year. We can even float out guaranteed money, though, because we can see a Jared Goff contract come through where there's a high total value, but it's really only $170 guaranteed. Jared Goff's making the 3rd highest annual money, $53 million, but his $170 million guaranteed is 7th highest. So let's say Jordan Love lands somewhere like that. But then that resets the market for your boy Dak, Sean, and Dak is going to break the bank.
I mean, they have screwed up every which way they can. I mean, and it's not just Dak, it's literally the entire roster. Like, it is just, it's impressive. And they do it time and time again. And then Jerry comes out and says, yeah, we're not worried about Dak getting paid. And I'm like, yeah, but now you're going to give him 65 rather than 55. And it's just, that's how they do it constantly. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Jordan Love, it's, the train has been on the tracks. I mean, it's not Jordan Love that is, doing this single-handedly. It's the Cowboys organization has done this to themselves. Quick tangent, sorry.
No, go. You know what? Bring it on, man. I did it in the opening 30 seconds. I'm doing it now. I don't mean to take low blows, but also, like, let's treat this as therapy. You know what I mean?
Well deserved.
This is a therapy session. And, I do come in like I do with Mike Cole, who sits across from you. I love talking Packers with him. And same thing with you. I love talking Cowboys with you. And I ask you, I'm like, what do you think the latest is? So let's treat this as therapy. I know, look, I can be a prick at times. But end of the day, Sean, I do love you and I do care about you. So it's coming from a good place for me to ask you about the Cowboys.